Anybody like visibly bummed ever?
Oh, all the time.
And then they're stuck with them for 2 weeks?
Yeah, all the time. The doors will open. And my biggest problem with the show is the vast majority of everyone on that show is conventionally attractive. I'm like, oh no, you got to mix in like some Quasimodos.
Yeah, that'd be the whole. That's what I'm cheering for.
100%.
With great personalities and people getting,
It should just be a complete mixed bag of like, yeah, like The Voice. That was the kind of the premise of that being like they were biased towards the handsome and pretty pop stars. So it's like let's just do audio only. But even now on The Voice, I feel like half the time they've weeded it out to just have a lot of attractive people or people that they know they're going to make fun of in the earlier rounds.
100%. But yeah, there's been a few times on Love is Blind where the doors have opened and the person's been unimpressed.
You're like, oh, you can see them mouthing, oh shit.
Doors just close back up.
It's like a prank show. They just fall through the thing.
But then the wildest part about the show is the way it ends is you go all the way to the wedding day and then they choose right then, like on the altar, like do you accept this person, yes or no?
So they have 2 weeks to back out of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, but they rarely do. It's like 95% of the time people only back out at the actual wedding day. And I think a lot of that is, and there was one guy a few seasons ago that was very clear this was what he was doing. A lot of people that make it to the wedding day on the show get like social media famous. And then so a lot of people are in for the clout of like, oh, I'll just drag this
They're
out.
milking their moment.
A TikTok this morning, actually, where a lawsuit's come out recently from the season 5, and it laid out the contract of Love is Blind. And apparently, if you get proposed to, you have to go to the altar. Otherwise, they hold you. You owe Love is Blind money. And so, because for me, I'm like, why wouldn't you save the person the heartache and just say to them no earlier? But if you have to play along with the whole.
You're meeting their grandmother, and you're like, I'm never going to see you again.
100%, yeah.
And then, at the altar, you have to say in front of their family that you hate this person.
In front of their family, yeah.
They'll show up.
Yeah, other than the first few episodes where the actual dates are happening, the ending is by far the best because it's this weird prisoner's dilemma thing where it's like, I want to say yes, but if they're going to say no, I'd rather say no so I don't get embarrassed.
It's like the nuclear codes.
Exactly, and it's like, oh, like, are they both going to say yes? Is like one going to say no? And,
who do they ask first?
I'm sure that the producers beforehand are like, are you going to say yes or no? And then it's like very often the person that says no goes second.
Last, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's probably a red flag if the producers are like, you're going to go first.
Where do you think you get all your clothes are from?
Yeah, I know where these are from.
Patagonia.
from a bar back, by the looks of it. This is actually a fake Patagonia shirt.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're wearing fake clothes.
Well, I mean, the real clothes.
All right. But you wanted the prestige of the Patagonia shirt, but you didn't want to pay the Patagonia price. You didn't want to pay real workers to create the clothes. So you're just stealing the
It is kind of worse because Patagonia donates all their profits to the environment. Like, this is the one that you shouldn't. But it was like $2 in Thailand. I mean, maybe it's real. I have my doubts.
So funny.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, like, did you get it at a random shop or did you go to like a t-shirt press place and be like, can you put Patagonia?
Yeah, that would be amazing. Custom fake clothes. They probably aren't even allowed to do that.
Oh, who's going to stop?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure that they are.
You're a white man in 2024. Who's going to stop you?
Just go in there and say Nike.
Yeah. If those places do like Disney logos all the time, I'm sure if they do that, they can do like.
True. Like the day after anything in pop culture, they have like the Trump mugshot.
Yeah, or they've got like Mickey Mouse with like, I don't know, fighting Goku or something like that.
So you guys are encouraging me to go to a t-shirt shop and just request copyrighted stuff.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Get a cease and desist from Disney.
They are really litigious.
Oh,
like that.
It's them and Nintendo are the two that it's like
they
will come after you for anything. Like a small video game shop will be hosting a Super Smash Brothers tournament, and Nintendo will be like, absolutely not, get out of here.
Like they won't even let them put a poster up with like.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
I heard that Disney with someone's grave, like a little boy or something really sad died. Yeah. And it had like a Disney quote or a picture of Snow White or something, and Disney were like, "You're taking."
Came by, smashed up that tombstone. It was like, "Sorry, kiddos, sorry, family."
Yeah, you got to pay to play, baby.
You got to pay. Bob Eisner came over there and
Bob Iger kicked it over himself.
He looks fit. I seen him in that master class that he's been trying to promote.
All these billionaires are fit.
Yeah, well, I feel like they have the secret now. Like
Yeah,
they've
it's
done-
called cash.
Yeah, well, yeah, they got the cash, but I feel like they've done enough like genetic testing and whatnot that they've like formulated some serum that like everybody can figure out how to stay young. It's like Ozempic mixed with steroids, mixed with I don't know.
They have
some
the fountain of youth.
Yeah, well, at least enough to like Jeff Bezos is jacked now, dating a 22-year-old. I don't know what how old.
She's not 22.
Well, whatever. And Leonardo DiCaprio hasn't aged a bit.
Well, it's like when you ever watch American Idol or any of those The Voice, that when they show the auditions of like the people who won, when they bring back the Carrie Underwood or whoever, the auditions, they always look like a normal person, but then you're like, oh, their skin gets way, but you can see the line of like, oh, they're rich now, and they just look amazing.
Yeah. Do you have a nighttime skin care routine?
Sometimes I'll put some weird gloopy black stuff I buy from Shoppers on my face. and that's
Tell me
about
about
as
this.
far as-
Gloopy black stuff sounds very good.
What is goopy black stuff? Like active charcoal?
I think so. It's literally just says like facial scrub, and then I rub it in my hands, and it feels like there's sand in it, and I go, that's probably taking out something out of my face.
Yeah.
And then I rub my face in it, and then I go, it looks like a hate crime right now, so let me wash this off my face, and then I get
Does
it
it
off.
hurt, the sand-like texture?
So no, but when I first started doing it, it would sting, and then the internet was like, "Oh yeah, that's because your face is dirty as hell."
Oh, you had to like you put your routine on the internet.
No. It was I was like, I looked up. I'm like, how come when I use facial cleanser it hurts? It's like that's because it's cleansing out all the like dirt in your face.
Oh,
but now when I do it, it doesn't sting at all. It's like, oh, it was actually like washing something out.
I thought they were gonna say that's because you're buying the $3 one with no name.
I like that you went to the internet to figure out why does my face hurt.
Yeah, well, I was like, am I allergic to this? Like,
Just trolling you. Your face is dirty, that's why.
What about you? Do you keep it tight? You got something some secret routine you're not telling us now that you're a billionaire?
No. What do I use? I use it's that soft stuff. I don't know. It's just a light cleanser, like
This is the most guys trying to explain the routine. Gloopy black stuff. It's soft.
yeah, it was like thin liquid. No idea what it's called again. Stuff you get from Costco in a giant jar. But yeah, no, I just do a little wash, do a little moisturizer, try and keep the
little bags.
Keep this down, and then just fall asleep on top of my face on my silk pillowcases.
It is a risky thing when you're pointing at your face too, being like this thing down. I'm like, the bags? No, I didn't know about those. Oh, the wrinkles.
does your product also have a like men are fragile name kind of it? Because I think the one I use is called like Bulldog or something like that.
Dude, I think about that every time me and my girlfriend are shopping for body wash. All the female ones, the Dove, are the scent. It's like mint, lavender. All the guys are like fire spoon, harpoon. You're like, what are these smells?
Fight an avalanche, kill a god.
They're all just the exact same scent. Yeah. It's just
Does it work though, or is there just no other choice?
I fought an avalanche after this stuff. Yeah.
You got to. I heard also, I don't know how true this is, maybe it's an urban legend, but that was a lot of the big release of the reason for releasing Coke Zero is because Diet Coke sounds too feminine, but they're like, oh, Coke Zero sounds like kind of cool, kind of tough, and like
0 calories, like me.
And then according to the numbers, like men are way more likely to drink Coke Zero than women are more likely to drink Diet Coke.
Because what is the difference? Because Diet Coke has no calories.
It's mostly just flavor. There's like a bit of an ingredients difference. I think Diet Coke has like slightly more sodium or something, but the main difference is just the flavor. Coke Zero is more of a typical Coke flavor, where Diet Coke's got its own
taste.
If you had to drink one pop or Coke or one soda pop for the rest of your life, which one would you choose?
Ooh,
Like you're only allowed one?
Only allowed one. This is your choice for the rest of your life.
Are you allowed water?
You can have water.
You don't have to just live off it.
If you're having a soda pop, you having your
Got it.
one soda.
Yeah, your go-to.
It might be Coke Zero, but also my youthful wonder wants to say Pepsi Blue because I loved Pepsi Blue as a kid, and they re-released it for like a month a couple years ago, and I bought out to the convenience store by me, and then I remember tasting it and going, Oh yeah, nostalgia.
It lived up to it. It wasn't like you got home and you're like, oh shit.
The first one, I was like, yeah, this is what I wanted, and then I was like, I've got another case of this in my fridge.
What is the taste of blue?
It's like a berry flavor.
Oh, berry.
thing.
So it's
Yeah.
berry. It's berry.
It's like
cola.
berry Pepsi,
Yeah,
kind of thing.
That sounds great.
Yeah, no.
I was once so determined to win an Xbox back when I was a teenager that there was a Pepsi contest that was like you cut the label and on the back there was a code. It was like when they were just starting to try to have internet like things lined up, and you could enter this code to see if you won an Xbox. I was like a homeless guy. I was raiding like garbage cans just to find Pepsi bottles. I'd come home with like 100 labels. Never won.
No, but people win those all the time. I used to work with a dude that he would do that. Like anytime it was like keep the cap of your Coca-Cola and win an Xbox, and he'd like win an Xbox and stuff.
He would?
Yeah, and a friend that we all know, our friend Alice, she recently just started submitting to these online contests and winning stuff, and got a bunch of other people involved. So for Instagram, these like contests often it's like post your story and stuff like that to win. Right. So since we don't want to spam our friends, we all just created like fake influencer.
You've got like a cartel?
Yeah, like a little cartel, and we just like tag each other in the comments and like share stories and stuff like that, and we call it our like contest pig hustle.
And they're all fake usernames?
They're all like, yeah, they're all just like completely fake usernames. Sometimes it'll be like our initials or like, but I think Alice's is just like some completely random combination of words. And then we've won like she won me Leafs tickets the other day. She gave to me because she's an Oilers fan, so she's like, I won Leafs tickets here, take them. And then like also like in total we've won like there's like a backpack's been won. I think like cutlery sets have been won. Like we just like go online, tag each other in these things.
Forks.
Yeah.
Not quite as cool as the Leaf tickets.
Oh no, man! Think about all those knives and spoons.
Oh, I love a good knife.
You go to the
Get a
game
knife.
once, you got a knife forever.
Hey, it's true.
What's the name of your spammer account?
I think
Your bot account, if you will. Your Russian bot.
mine, I think I just called like I was like, what's the most influencer thing I could come up with? And then I just put up FD Journeys, and it's just all my travel photos I just put up, and I make it seem like I'm constantly traveling the world. So when people are like, "Oh, we want someone to win this jacket," I'm like, "Well, why don't you give it to an up and coming influencer?"
Up and coming influencer.
That it looks like I traveled a bunch last year, but these photos are from like the past decade.
So yeah, they're just the pixel quality gets worse and worse.
Exactly.
This guy loses his phone in Turkey. What about you, Scott? What would you be drinking if you could only drink one soda for the rest of your life?
I mean, my heart wants to say like an A&W root beer.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, but it's too sweet sometimes. You know, my go-to is like a Mexican Coke.
Like a Yarito? No. Oh, just like the Coca-Cola made in Mexico.
Yeah, because they use the real cane sugar there.
Right.
That's the good stuff, right? That hooks it straight to your vein. Got caffeine in there.
Straight to your veins. You're shooting. You're tying up the thing.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. But yeah, the child in me says the A&W root beer. So sweet. So I don't even know how they make root beer. I don't know what root they make it out of.
You take that over a mug or a Barks.
Bark is trash.
Whoa.
Bark's trash. Bark's got bite. There's a reason why you don't hear about it anymore.
I can see the logo in my head, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm not into the to the pop scene and to the soda scene.
You aren't in the soda scene anymore.
Not
right?
as much as you would want.
Isn't
You want
the
to be.
Has Bite thing? Wasn't that just because they were the only root beer with caffeine? Because root beer doesn't naturally have caffeine, does
Was
it?
that what it was?
Does-
I believe so. That Barks Has Bite was like
Yeah.
had caffeine in it, or maybe added caffeine. I don't know.
It's got the drug that you want.
Yeah.
It had more of a bite to it.
Yeah.
It was less sweet and more of like
bitterness,
sharp taste to it.
That's a good branding, though. We're still talking about that slogan. Like
Yeah.
Bark. Well, yeah.
I don't know what Mug or A&W's tagline is.
Mug has, but it's the same too. They all have bite.
Mugs is nice. Mugs is a nice root beer. You know,
What, a dad's root
that's
beer?
okay because it comes in the bottle. It feels like you're having a sarsaparilla. I think that's the root that they use for
Yeah.
root beer.
You guys know. You guys are smarter
Hey, you
than
don't
I
know
thought.
shit, do you? Hey, you don't know.
No,
fucking
root
thing.
beer, just I'm like-
what's your range of knowledge? What is the
Nothing.
thing that-
I know how to turn on TikTok Live. I know how to upload
You're
a
button
YouTube video.
presser. You're a button presser.
I'm a button presser.
Yeah,
And just pressing the big button.
Yeah.
Like John Locke in Lost, if any of you guys get that
It
reference.
wasn't John Locke.
It was the hat.
Was no, he took over from
Oh,
Desmond.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, he did.
Nice try. Tried to out me.
So you know about Lost and you know about pressing
Little
buttons.
pop culture, yeah. But
You only know the end of Lost.
I don't know how they're making these pops and sodas right now.
No, you never watched the show how this is made or how it gets made.
A couple times, like on a flight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See just a bunch of factory lines and the guy narrating over it.
And I just my eyes glazed.
So you're not a pop man. You're like, I won't have pop. I'll have
If
2
I
liters
had
of
like,
water.
it would be
2 liters
torture
of
to have
milk.
to only drink soda for the rest of my life. If I couldn't drink water like that, that would drive. I could feel it on my teeth already.
Yeah, of course. No one's forcing you. This is not torture. Listen, a pop is a treat, okay? You only have it every once in a while. There's a reason why they make a diet version. It's too good.
But in this world, I can only have one for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper.
This fucking world. Yeah, the world that we're just Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper. I'm a Forrest Gump man. Yeah.
23 spices or whatever. 23.
I think isn't that KFC? Okay. It's the same ingredients.
Yeah.
That's so they make both.
Now, is pop specifically like the carbonated stuff, or is anything on the like select a pop machine thing go? Because then I might say iced tea. Because iced tea is not, I don't think, traditionally a pop, but
It's not a pop, but I put it in that range because when you're growing up, people were just rocking those Arizona iced teas.
And Nestea
and
too.
those
There's
Nestees.
sugar in that. It's a pop. You can
Great.
get it at Wendy's.
I haven't seen a good Nestea plunge in a little while commercial. I used to like those ones.
that was a great campaign.
Yeah, it was. Just a guy standing, having his drink, and then falling into a pool. Tell me nothing feels better than that.
What's more refreshing than falling into a pool?
It's never happened to either of us. And if it does happen to you and you fall into a pool, it's less refreshing than you think.
But you know what's a bit sad? The fall of Snapple. We're at Snapple.
Oh.
They were. I mean, I wasn't a Snapple person, but people love.
Is that not around anymore?
I haven't seen it for ages.
Clicking the little lid like that. You know what? I was excited to have Philippe on the show today because I'm like, we're going to talk gambling. We're going to talk something.
Whoa,
Which is
whoa, whoa,
40
whoa.
marketing.
45 minutes on soda pop marketing.
So sorry. Wait, I didn't know you were a massive gambler.
Nah, I wouldn't say
You have a gambling problem.
That's what this is, an intervention. Bring out his parents.
I'm here because I lost the bets to Ian.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Your go-to gambling game.
Strictly a game, it would have to be Texas Hold'em poker. But these days, it's sports betting because it's
you-
impossible to do anything otherwise.
You're a Hold'em though. You play Texas Hold'em online.
So once in a while. I haven't much lately, but like in terms of like casino games and stuff like that, that would be my go-to one if I had to pick one. I was one of those nerds that came up in the poker boom of 2005.
You watch Rounders once and you're like, I'm in.
Oh yeah. Oh, I want to be Matt Damon.
Oh my god. Yeah, I've seen that movie so many times for that exact reason. Just being like, I'll be a grinder. I'll drive to Niagara Falls. I'll win 2 hands an hour for the rest of my life.
Have you tried to make your living off of poker?
Yeah, I had a fantasy about it when I first moved to LA. I was like, I'll drive to Vegas. It's a 5-hour drive. I'll drive every weekend. I'll win enough money for the week and I'll come home. First night I ever tried it, lost everything in like 10 minutes. The guy was like younger than me too. He's like 18, or I guess he's 21 probably. Yeah. Just like bullying me at the table. I lose so quickly. I it really killed that dream very quickly.
We got into poker really hard in high school, like too hard. Where we were playing games like before Texas Hold'em was the only game that anybody ever played. And we were playing things like match the pot. So if you lost, you had to match the pot of whatever it was. So like the pots were getting up to $100, $200, and nobody had that money at the time. So they were writing IOUs. So you would have IOUs from like Troy and Brendan and all these people. And you're like, I'm going to match the pot with Brendan's IOU here because you had like IOU for $200 or whatever.
They're like traveler's checks. You're like trading
pretty well, but you played with the same guys all the time, and people were getting into some big time debts with everybody, like $500 matching these pots because you were doing like low Chicago or like
3-card stud. All the ones just grandparents know how to play now.
exactly.
I only know how to play Hold'em.
High low. You're doing high low splits and whatnot, and it was great. We were playing. It was. The problem I had was it was taking up too much time. That's why I asked you about it, if you thought you could grind it out. So I had to read my chemistry book while I was like playing poker at the same time. I'm like, okay, because I had a test the next day or whatever it was. And these games are like 5 hours long. I'm playing there, people are going in the whole $500. I'm trying to learn about organic chemistry. Honestly, it was a bit of a problem. So
you knew right away, was it too much of a time commitment for you to become a professional or dream of that?
Yeah.
I do love that your friend group invented its own credit system. We're like buying debt off each other. And like...
you showed up with your wallet full of like IOUs and whatnot, but you always had to come in with your buy-in of a certain amount of cash.
Did anybody ever like exactly do like a debt schedule where they're like, okay, give me $1,000 of IOUs for $10, I'll buy the debt?
I mean, you had to pay up. There was some repercussions.
Did you ever fantasize about being a professional gambler in some capacity?
Probably some capacity. Yeah, I got really into poker when I was younger. Again, like during that big like poker boom of like 2005, 2006, when the NHL was on lockout, and then Sportsnet and TSN were like, oh, what do we put on TV? Poker, I guess.
Is that what happened? Is that how it blew
It
up?
wasn't the only catalyst, but it was a big part of it. It was just like one of the big four leagues wasn't on, so they were like, oh, we got to fill the time with something, I guess this. But also it was like kind of ramping up before that as well. And I remember learning about it. I was like, I've always been like a big like math nerd, numbers guy, and I remember learning about it and being like, oh, poker's just very quick calculation of math of like, oh, I need to get this card. So my odds of getting that card are this. The pot is this. So if I need to pay 30% of the pot, and it's a 40% chance I get that card, so that's like on a long term, that's a winning play kind of thing. And I was like, I really like that. That's awesome. I can use math to win money. So I'd play against friends and stuff, do pretty well. And then it's one of those things that like you go online, and it's like, oh, everyone online is super good.
Right, it's all the people who are like, I can use math to make money.
Yeah. it's like being like a kid going from like playing hockey select to like you play like
There's an
AAA.
NHL.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, everyone here is so much better than me.
And now there's algorithms too where people can have like essentially extensions, like AI extensions that are playing like five
Tell you,
tables.
like the best.
Exactly, they're calculating the odds on it, so you don't even need to be good at math.
Fun for you?
Oh, absolutely.
It's not about fun online. It's about making that money.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, because people ask, I still like to play every once in a while. I play, but when I go, I don't want to play Texas Hold'em.
Yeah.
I don't want to do a tournament. I want to play. Dealer chooses the game, and then you play whatever the dealer chooses.
See, I only want to play Hold'em like with friends, and because I don't know, it's the one. It's like the Cadillac of poker.
I know, but if you're gonna be silly enough to bet on cards, why not have a little bit of fun?
Why not go fish?
Oh my god, yeah, we used to play a game called Post, where you flip two cards, one, and you had to bet whether it go inside the numbers, inside the cards or outside the cards. Like if say you had a 10 and an 8.
You explaining the rules of your made up game on a podcast?
It's high low at the same time.
It's high low at the same time, but if it goes in the middle, but if it hits the post, you had to mash the pot. And everybody, sometimes people hit the pot and they just blow their minds. You know, they lose everything they worked for the whole summer.
All those IOUs.
Forget about it, man.
Out the window.
People leaving my place crushed. Their souls were crushed. They know they'd have to go back to work for old Yamamore.
I do love that you're just like, Ian's like, oh no, I want to play Hold'em because it's a game everyone knows and there's like more skill to it than typical poker and stuff. And you're like, no, I want the coin flip games.
I'm just gambling.
So what's your go-to game if you went to the casino? You said yours poker. You do poker?
Yeah, poker, or like the one time I went to Vegas, like I would just do the sports books. I did some blackjack, some like blackjack and roulette is something you do like. That's one of those things where it's like you go expecting to. I mean, all gambling you go expecting to lose money, but especially those because like the math of it is you're going to lose money.
And roulette's the second best odds in a casino.
I can tell you one person who thinks he's going to win every single time.
Look, I just need $10 more each, guys.
I like roulette. My go-to when I go to the casino is roulette because I enjoy the. It doesn't matter. It's you're not winning. The odds are against you. You obviously just look for the one that's not a two double zeros, like a 0 and a double 0.
Unless you have balls.
Yeah, well, the payout's still the same.
Put it all on 7.
I've seen people hit on that, like get it, like
number?
Yeah, but most of the time they're the ones who are like they're betting $100 on like.
I love it with the people that come in with a system and they just have all the numbers all over the place and looking at them and just put it all on one number.
Did you ever think like? I mean, I'm sure you did as well, sound like, because you've got that math brain, that you, like, did you learn to count cards? I know I certainly did. Were you, like...
Yeah, I know, like, the process of it, but then also very quickly, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, by the time you know about it, everyone else is ready for it.
Every single person knows, and they've obviously accounted for it, that now it's 6 decks, and they shuffle almost every
Exactly, like...
For blackjack.
Six decks, can you not?
It's a lot harder. And they shuffle way more often than they used to back in the day with, like, the movies.
So it's way less of an advantage. Like, you'll still get a tiny advantage, but it's not like what it used to be, where it's like, oh no, you could win.
It's essentially like what you have to do now. Like everyone's doing it, and people are. If you're doing the wrong move at a table, people are like yelling at you. Like,
So, are you winning at your sports gambling?
Sports betting, I'm up a few $1,000s over the past year, but that's less because of I'm some like brilliant savant that knows every team that's going to win, and it's more. I was explaining this to someone the other day. I feel like we're in the early stages of sports books, where like they're just trying to get people to sign up as much as possible. Right. So you're getting all these like promotions, all these like bet $50, get $50 back for free. And it's a lot like the early days of like Uber, where remember like you used to be you used to be able to go across the city for like $10 because they'd give you so many discounts and stuff like that.
They get you hooked.
Yeah, and now and then once everyone's hooked, then they drive up the price, and that's market capitalism in effect, and everything's going.
So and this is the gold rush where they're like free pickaxes for everyone who wants to come mine. It's very safe.
Oh, absolutely. And
so
there's
like
like
as many pickaxes as you can right now.
Exactly. I'm just there on multiple sports books being like, oh, if I bet here, they'll give me an extra $50. Hell yeah. If I bet these guys boosted the odds of this, so this thing that was like 1 in 2 odds is they're now paying out as if it's like 1 in 7, and yeah, I'll go place a bet there. So then using those promos against each other. Part of me does wonder though if that will ever go away, because the thing with sports betting is it's extremely addicting. Like unlike something like, I mean, Uber and Uber Eats can be addicting in just lifestyle, but something like that is, I think they're often, much like mobile games, sportsbooks are relying on like the big whales. So if they get someone in just coming in to be like, oh, I get a free $50 here, and then a week later they're placing like $2,000 bets on
from the back of an Uber they're addicted to, just driving around the block.
You bet on a lot of games as well, don't you?
Yeah, I was early into sports betting as well, because it was more legal in Canada.
Yeah,
you could do it for years through like these other sites. But in that same way too, where it can be a slippery slope. This came up because we saw each other at a party, and Philippe was the talk of the town because he just hit a major like long shot bet.
What was the bet, man? Spin the yarn. Spin the story.
I think the one that day was like some 5-team hockey parlay. It was like a $25 bet that paid out like $1,000 or something like that. And yeah, it was again. And the reason it was a 5-team parlay is because the sportsbook has this thing where it's like, oh, if you place a 5-team parlay and one of them loses, we'll just give you your money back. So you're essentially getting 5-team odds while really only betting on 4 teams, because one of them can lose and you would get your money back.
This is how people get addicted, because even hearing this on the show, like $25 and made up $1,000 and it was guaranteed.
I mean, it wasn't guaranteed. Yeah. That's the thing.
Now, a parlay, for people that don't know, is a bet, and if that bet goes well, all the bets have to go well.
You have to bet on multiple games or multiple things to happen in the same bet. So, like, it could be like the Knicks have to win, the Blue Jays have to win, whatever. The Chiefs have to win the Super Bowl.
If yes, you win.
And if something goes wrong along the way, you lose the whole bet. So you could be 4 out of 5 things going your way, and then something messes up and you're out.
Exactly. And it's basically the entire premise of that Adam Sandler movie, Uncut Gems, where he's like placing like these crazy long shots, like this team to win the tip off and then this guy to score 25 points. Because if you were to place them all as individual bets,
you wouldn't pay that much.
Exactly, wouldn't pay as much. And then if one team loses, you still get money from the other ones.
And sometimes they'll try to cash you out. Like if you've got a really long shot bet, let's say 4 of the 5 things have happened, the gambling side will be like, hey, you placed $100 on this 6 months ago. We'll give you $5,000 right now to walk away, because the payoff might be $100,000, whatever it is, depending on how crazy it is.
Oh. So what do you feel like is your favorite thing to bet on? Is it NBA? Is it NFL? Is it hockey?
The ones I'm most knowledgeable about are hockey and NFL.
That's funny, because like I was thinking with your math brain, I thought you were going to say baseball, because that's the one that they say is the most predictable.
Baseball is the reason baseball is so predictable, like the Moneyball thing of it, is because there's so many games, and then like which cuts out the variance of like, oh, the best teams will usually end up making the playoffs because you play so many games and they go on so long. But like on a game-to-game basis, baseball is really random. Like a top team in baseball wins like 60% of its games.
That's it.
Yeah, where like if you won 60% of your games in the NBA, you're like what, the like 6th seed, like the 7th seed.
Yeah. Like Boston is on a tear right now too. You're like, and that's the thing I like about the NBA too. Sometimes there's a big. You can see they're supposed to win by like 17 points. You're like, okay, this is almost a shoo-in. Yeah. Almost.
But then like, yeah, there's like no team in baseball would ever win 90% of its games. Like no one would do what the Warriors did a few years ago.
Right.
That just doesn't happen. So baseball on a game-to-game basis is really, really unpredictable, which is usually why I stay away from it. But stuff like football, I'd say, is the most predictable, because football's a lot of matchups. Which I think is where like big sports nerds can get an edge, where you can be like, okay, this team is really good and they're playing this less good team, but the reason this team is so good is because of their running, and this team's got like a really good running defense. So there might be a bit of a a bit of a matchup discrepancy there that we can take advantage
Did you
of.
put any money on that Super Bowl win?
Yeah, the Super Bowl one was actually one of my bigger wins of the year because before.
Hello.
And again, talking about the promo stuff before the season started,
It sounds like we're sponsored by FanDuel.
Which site is it, man?
Well,
Well, get these $1,000.
No, we're not name jumping any sites. They pay to play.
yeah, they can sponsor us.
Exactly. They can give us money. We can gamble away.
But yeah, the reason I won so much on the Super Bowl was because one of these unnamed sites could be your sites if you sponsor us. One of these unnamed sites had a promo before the season where it was like, hey, if you place a bet, I think it was like maximum $200. If you place a bet up to $200 on a team to win the Super Bowl, and this is before the season started, if you place a bet on them to win the Super Bowl, throughout the year, every game they win will give you like 10% of your bet back. So every game you win, you get $20 back if you place $200. So I was like, okay, well, let me bet on the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl because they'll definitely win at least 10 games. Right.
Smart.
They play in a weak division. So they'll win 10 games. I'll get my $200 back, and then I basically have a free Chiefs win the Super Bowl bet. And then so they ended up winning the Super Bowl, and then that paid out, I think, like $1,400 or something like that.
On that $200 bet that
it
you
was like a 7-1 odds before the season or something like that.
Wow, you had it early. Wow, that's cool.
So then I was like, oh, amazing. So it was it was like the 7-1 odds paid out $1,400, and then I had already got to my $200 back through the 10 wins throughout the year. So
you know what? You are the real deal with this stuff. When I texted him and said, "Hey, you want to come chat gambling on the pod?" And I love what you said too. You're like, "Hey, I'm not." Or what did you say?
I think I just said like, "Oh, I'm not like." I do this very casually. I'm not like a professional that has like models.
And then immediately I read that as like supermodels and just imagined him at the Bellagio being like, "Look, I don't make so much money that there's a girl on each arm throwing dice."
I said earlier, but I'll repeat it for the cameras of like. It shows what a math nerd I am. That when I hear models, I'm like, oh, statistical models.
Yeah.
Analytics. Yeah, of course. No, because there's a few people I follow on Twitter. Like, I'll give a shout out to a really good one, Rachel Dory, who used to work for the Vancouver Canucks and the New Jersey Devils. Now she just makes hockey models. And then it's just like, she'll post on Twitter, she's like, hey, these are the good odds today. And it'll be like, McDavid's to get 2 assists, Matthews to score a
And
goal.
it's fairly accurate
And
in your
she
experience?
hits more often than she misses.
Wow.
Oh, she's like a gambling guru for everybody now.
Yeah, like she went to school for like hockey or sports analysis, and then got really into hockey models. And I think Dom Lucian of The Athletic is another one that on The Athletic he'll post his like hockey picks for the day, and they're pretty good. And there's a ton of people that have these like fancy math models that win them a ton of money.
Well, you should throw your picks up there on your.
My picks?
No, you are not a winner.
In any capacity in this life.
You're not making these 7-1 odd bets, but these on your contestant Instagram page there.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh, on his he can become a gambling influencer. Yeah, people like that more than blurry travel
Oh,
photos from 2003.
think about all the wonderful 360 bets you could get there. Is it 365 bets?
Bet 365. That's one
Hey,
of them.
pay to play.
Sorry.
Yami, you're not much of a sports betting guy? You ever done it? You ever
I
dabbled?
love to bet on sports, but with the people that I'm with, because it makes the game more fun. I'm not interested in just like putting the money onto the internet and be like, hey, Mr. Man, give me money if this goes through. It seems
You're not
like
doing
too
it
many
alone.
extra steps for me. You know what I mean?
Everybody, you're at a Super Bowl party. Everybody's betting on it, or there's
Love
props.
it. Makes the whole time better. You get this whatever a scorecard going for everybody.
That's the thing. It makes you care about a game which maybe you wouldn't care about normally.
100%. But I like doing it with other people because then you can like shit talk people.
Yeah.
If they're losing.
Oh, so you'd bet against your friend in the same room. But like, he's taking the Chiefs, we're taking the 49ers.
Exactly. Right.
My favorite version of that is it was a friend's bachelor party. So a bunch of us were like, okay, let's he's Australian, he's never been to a hockey game. Let's take him to like for the first part of his bachelor party, we're gonna go. The Marlies were playing like Toronto's minor league hockey team. They were playing like a 1 p.m. game that day. So we're like, let's go to this Marlies game, get drunk, and then we'll go out and party after and do stuff like that. So then we take him to this game, and we're doing exactly what you're saying. We're just like live betting on stuff in the moment. It's like, okay, this team to win this period, this team to win this period. And then like the entire section around us is getting kind of into it. And then intermission comes, and then they're like, oh, for intermission, these two like teams of 5-year-olds are going to play each other.
You guys, degenerates.
Yeah. The explosion of everyone like, oh, okay, let's bet on this. And I swear, like, one of the most out of a movie moments possible, my friend leans over to me and he goes, my friend Scott, not the Scott, other Scott. My friend leans over. He's like, "Okay, these kids, I want it was like the blue team versus the white team because those are the Marlies colors." He goes, "Okay, I want the blue team. $20 on the blue team." The guy sitting behind us taps Scott on the shoulder and goes, You want the white team. And then Scott's like, I want the white team, apparently. White team smokes the blue team. Whoa. Like, I don't know if this guy watches every game.
He's the dad of the kid on the blue team?
Like, he's the dad of the goalie or something.
He's like, my kid sucks.
Yeah.
Do you ever, because, like, I know you're a huge Leafs guy. You're a huge Toronto sports guy, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever follow your heart and place bets that you shouldn't? Or do you do math first where you're like, no, I got to bet against the Leafs tonight? Or you stay away? Or do you ever be like, they're going to win the Stanley Cup, $1,000?
I almost exclusively bet against the Leafs, against my favorite team.
Whoa.
In something I call sadness insurance, where I'm like, I'll be happy if my team wins, but I can take out some sadness insurance and put $50 against them. Oh. So if they lose, then at least
you're happy anyway. Yeah. It is genius.
I do love sadness insurance.
It's not even happiness insurance. It's the opposite. It's like, no, I'll never feel happy. It'll just make me feel less sad to watch them win.
Especially when it's a game where it's like, because the Leafs are notorious for just losing games they really should be winning. So when it's a game where they're the heavy favorites, I'm like, oh, let me put $10 on the other team, because this is exactly like a few years ago. One of the first big wins I had was when the Leafs were in the playoffs against Montreal, and they were up 3-1 in the series. They needed to win one more game to advance to the next round. And then Montreal won Game 5, and I went, this team's going to blow it, aren't they? So I bet on Montreal to win the entire series. Sure enough, they came back.
Traitor.
Yeah.
Traitor.
So I was devastated, the most devastated I've been as a sports fan.
But richer than God.
But I had an extra like $500 to my name. So.
All right, if you were in charge of the Leafs, name me 3 players that you would drop tomorrow.
Oh, this is controversy. You can make Leafs fans mad.
You just full on fire them.
It's wild because I think they're in a pretty good place right now. Like the thing I would do is sign I would get another defenseman for Morgan Rielly to play with, because right now I think the team's in a good spot. The 3 players, when you're like, what 3 players would you drop? I'm like, at the 3 bottom of the lineup guys, like just to put in better players. There's no one near the top where I'm like, this guy's a bum, he's making too much and like blah blah blah. Like, no, all the guys that make too much, like they put up points. Like Austin is on pace to score 70 goals this year. Marner's on pace to have 100 points again. Nylander's on pace to flirt with 100 points as well.
Did you bet on those?
No, none of that. I'm too impatient for the most part for like futures bets. Where it's like, oh, this player to win MVP, or the like, other than the Super Bowl one I was just talking about, because
you need the immediate gratification.
Yeah, I want that immediate payout,
like a true addict.
Exactly. I want that dopamine rush hitting that night.
Have you heard that? To tie it back into our sponsor of the show, Ozempic. No. But that Ozempic, people who are on Ozempic who are gambling addicts are no longer gambling addicts.
Really?
Because apparently what it does is it makes you less hungry. That's one of the things. Mm-hmm. But it also makes people make better decisions. So like they go on more walks, they eat healthier. So it ends up being more of like a brain drug than it is actually a weight loss drug, which is kind of controversial, because when you stop going on Ozempic, you gain the weight because all those like good habits. Yeah. Like all those instincts to go on the walk, not reach for the Doritos, those go away too. So it's kind of like creepy in the sense that it makes you a little bit of a different person, albeit a better person.
Does it mess with your like dopamine, like reward receptors?
Well, they don't know what it does in the brain yet. They it's almost like a working backwards thing.
Yeah. We just like the effects that it does to our body. And
gives me discipline and lose weight. Sign me up. But the weirdest thing, I was shocked to hear that people who are gambling addicts are like, no, I don't feel like doing that anymore.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Miracle drug for weight loss and quitting gambling.
It's going to kill all of us in 5 years. And it also does this. Yeah. The biggest tumors you've ever seen.
About the dopamine stuff, I just earlier this month read this book, Dopamine Diaries, kind of talking about like the science behind dopamine and the rewards chemical in your brain. Mm-hmm. And on the subject of gambling, one thing it talks about is they found there's a bigger dopamine spike in placing a bet than winning a bet.
The same with pulling, like for people who are addicted to slot machines, it's not even winning, it's the pulling is where the dopamine spike happens. It's like the hope. They're addicted to the idea of winning more than winning.
100%. And it's fascinating. I think especially because something like sports bets, of like, you place a sports bet expecting to win. So it's like devastating when you lose. And when you win, it's like, of course, I'm a genius.
It never feels good. Sadness insurance. It's only, feels horrible or 100%. Expected. What's the worst beat you've ever had? Bad beat. Worst bet you ever made, or that looked dumb in hindsight?
Like in terms of sports betting?
Anything.
Because I think every poker player has a billion stories of like, this guy had 1 cards to hit and he got it on the river, and like, no one cares. All those stories. I've definitely had stuff like that. I'm trying to think if there's any. There was one Super Bowl parlay I think I had this year that it was going to pay out, I think, close to $1,000 off, like, again, like a $25 bet. And then the only thing that went wrong was I had Brock Purdy under X amount of passing yards. And because the game went to overtime, he passed that number by like 5 yards.
Oh,
like,
no.
It's just like barely got over. But again, it was like a $25 bet.
It was just heartbreaking, but it wasn't like devastating.
Exactly. Like I rarely, other than like the Super Bowl where I'll like place a larger bets to make the game more exciting, I rarely place bets over like $25-$50. So I've never had anything where it's like, oh God, I can't pay rent this month.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Did you guys see that streaker?
Yeah.
A guy who lives in Vegas. It was like a 50,000. Like he placed a guy who lives in Vegas essentially decided that he'd bet that there was going to be a streaker at the game. Put like $10,000 on it. Won like 50,000 and ate like a $8,000 fine and a night in jail. Next year, I feel like so many people are going to try that now. They're going to have like way harder defense because of this guy telling this story.
100%, yeah, because
He fixed the outcome.
Yeah,
He knew
it was him.
He could affect the game. That's the one way you can affect the game. Take out your dick and run across the field.
Was he naked?
Oh,
No,
I don't know.
He had pants.
Oh,
on.
did he?
Because if you do like full on streaking, I think you get charged with sex crimes.
Oh,
now.
so he did a bigger. He
Then
was
you gotta
calculating.
register everywhere you go. where
Exactly.
you move. It's
Yeah,
weird
that's
thing.
not worth your 50 grand.
And no. Did he get paid out though? Because I know the casino tried to not pay him out
For
because they
rigging
were
it?
like- yeah, because they were like, "Oh no, you affected the game."
He shouldn't have told anybody he bet on it then.
Yeah. No, it's
I'm
but
sure he made
how do you get that clout?
Yeah,
He probably cashed out and then made the story, or something. I don't know.
that would suck to pull off a heist like that and then them to be like, "Oh, we're not paying you. You cheated." Well, that was like with the election, the 2020 election. The lot of the betting sites, people were like emailing them, being like, like, "Oh, but because Trump was saying he stole the election," they were like, "Then I got to get my money back." Like, and the betting sites obviously didn't.
Right. Who are you betting on for this upcoming American election?
I'm staying away. That was my biggest bad beat ever when I first moved to LA. I guess
You bet on Trump to win. You voted and you
I bet with my vote. No, in 2016, like a year when they first announced the election, I was like, "Oh, it's going to be Hillary Clinton." After the Obama presidency, I was like, "There's no way," and so I bet a large amount.
You're like, there's no way she's gonna fumble the bag on this one.
And then a month before, when the Grab Her by the Pussy tape came out, I was like, "Okay, I'm hedging my bet," and I doubled down because I was thinking it was a very big bet.
That's the opposite of hedging.
It was, yeah, you're right. It was the worst part was,
shoe in here.
and I was thinking, I'm like, I'm moving to a new country, a new city. I would like a free month, free first and last of rent. So, and prior to that, I'd place like $100, like say $100 on a Super Bowl, maybe $25 here and there. And this was like, I guess, a 4-figure bet. And the worst thing was the day of the election, Trump was still such an underdog that I could have bet like $100 or $200 on Trump and like made sure that my money was safe either way. I could have had sadness insurance.
You could have hedged your bet.
But instead, and I was still in Canada. I went to an American themed bar called Home of the Brave, ordered a burger and a Budweiser to watch the election results coming in, thinking I was like, get around for people. I'm going to be the man. I just remember sitting there being like, "Oh God, what have I done?"
No.
For different reasons than everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Oh no, this is going to destroy democracy."
No, and I'm just like, my first and last is gone.
Me, always me now, forever me.
Yeah.
Now,
So I'm staying away. I'm not touching it this year. God
yeah,
bless him.
because
Good
you
luck to everybody.
you should bet on Trump then. We've seen it.
I'm not betting on anybody because that also is a very bold statement. Yeah, you know what? I'll just bet on the Super Bowl.
Do y'all bet on the Oscars at all? I know
I have
film
before,
next year, yeah.
but no, I don't anymore. They're often like so. They're
Can you
they're
bet
almost
on
perfect.
just anything? Is that what it is? Like on the
A lot of them have gotten really degenerate with it. I saw a promo the other day where it's like, bet on when the first patio weather in Toronto will be like day over 20 degrees Celsius.
Name me this site. Name me this site that's allowing you to bet on
The weather.
the weather. Yeah, the weather.
Ah, you fucked me, son. If it was, that cloud.
Just like outside, like spraying aerosol. Trying to, like,
Leaving your car on while you're inside. I had a rigged bet once, like something, a friend of mine who I haven't seen very often. I won't say who it is because I don't want to out anybody on this, but he asked me for dinner and I hadn't seen him in a long time. It was a little weird.
Turns out he was betting on whether or not he
I'd
was
show
gonna
up.
go for dinner.
And I showed up and like halfway through, he was like, "Ian, you know about online betting, right? Gambling sites?" And he's like, "I think I know who wins Survivor." And he wasn't fully sure, but because it was during the pandemic, they'd pre-shot the seasons. They'd went back to back, and he knew a cameraman on it. And it's happened in the past now, so I can say this.
Right.
And my friend's Canadian, and the cameraman was like, "Oh, it's crazy that a Canadian won 2 years in a row," and said that, and then kind of stopped. And my friend clocked it. And the craziest thing was,
And then slowly took out his phone.
and texted me and said, "Where's my degenerate friend?" We had missed. You could have bet on it like a week before, but it was all taken down off the sites by the time.
Word got out.
And the worst thing was her odds to win. She was like a 15-1 dog. Like, she was not. It would have been so. But he wasn't also 100% sure too. So he was like, "I'm 90% sure," but we also weren't like don't throw life-changing money on it.
Yeah.
But like, we were tempted to throw like $1,000 on it because it's like that would have paid 16 grand and split it.
And you didn't.
Couldn't.
Right.
And then sure enough, she did win like 3 months later. And I was like, "Oh, we had it. Like, it was right."
That's why we got the inside track. It's like when you used to hear those stories of like old school mafia guys being like, I hear Jonesy's horse is going to have
Yeah.
a crooked tail
Yeah.
tonight.
It was as close as I'll ever get to that in my life.
The wave of how much gambling has taken over social media and television and
Oh, it's
radio,
brutal.
everything. It's wild. Like it's fascinating to see like every commercial break during sports game now. It's like of the 6 commercials, 4 of them are for gambling websites.
Yeah.
It's like,
And most will fail. Like, some are so, and even like hearing like the odds all the time on TV. I mean, obviously it's going to ruin a lot of lives.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Could ruin yours, Yami. I think you should get into it, man.
Let's do it right now.
Go live and place a bet live.
Let's place a bet live right now.
Just, if people were really not excited about him explaining the made up card game, they'll love him logging his credit card information.
$5. It says that I can flip this and land it on its bottom.
Empty?
Not empty. Halfway. I'll drink this halfway.
Okay, but you can't do it on the table with the cameras because I don't want the cameras to shake. But if you can land it on the floor
Yeah.
or something in frame, I'll take that bet. That for sure this is gonna go poorly. All right, I'll paint the
thing's so
picture.
full shaky.
Maybe move the those bottles. Yeah, perfect. So to paint the picture for our audio
you want some
listeners,
sad insurance on this?
Scott is taking a water bottle and he's gonna try and flip it. So $5. Philippe, do you
$5.
want anything on it? Are you
want
saying it
another
or?
side?
No, I'm gonna observe. I'm gonna
All right, so
see
if you don't land it, I get $5. It's even odds. If you do land it, you get $5.
That's correct.
All right, one full rotation at least.
Not one full rotation. It's got to land on its end.
Okay, I think I understand.
All right. Here goes nothing. $5 in the hole.
I'm rich. Audio listeners, he fucked up.
Landed right on its side.
Didn't
flat
do it.
on its side. Wasn't even
Wasn't even close.
wasn't even a Kawhi bounce of like, is this gonna go? Like, no, it just,
And you learned a lesson about gambling. Now it hurts.
Now it hurts. Truly pretty upset about that. That's,
but now you do the martingale system and you bet $10, you'll get the next one.
Yeah.
You keep doubling your bets.
is that the Martingale?
Yeah, you just keep doubling your bets until you eventually.
Until you've run out of money because you've lost everything.
Here we go. 10.
Oh, he wants in. Okay, double or nothing.
Double or nothing. All right. Last time I didn't get enough juice. This time I'm going to give it too much juice. Double or nothing.
Double or nothing. I win again.
$20. Here we go.
$20?
No.
Oh.
All right. I like how excited you got there, too.
I was up like watching a guy lose his shirt.
For those listening, he missed the table entirely that time.
Yeah, he landed on his own knee almost.
Turns out that bottle flipping isn't my expertise while you're on the side on a crooked table that's fully on a slant.
This was a great bet by me.
Do you think there's like competitive bottle flipping? Because it was a big thing on the internet for a while.
100% is competitive bottle flipping. I have no evidence to back that up. I just feel like everybody's doing everything all the time, everywhere.
We were actually talking about that last week. That like if you're the best in the world at tag now or something, you can
Bet on ESPN.
yeah, you can make a living on it through through TikTok or YouTube or anything. You can find an audience. I was thinking about Wim Hof recently. Do you guys know who Wim Hof is?
No.
Wim Hof is the Iceman. He's a guy who kind of like was one of the people who made going into cold water famous in the way and breathing techniques. Anyway, Wim Hof was like a homeless guy. He'd kind of checked out of society, decided he didn't want to work traditionally, and was squatting for 7 years. And he started in Amsterdam. He started just swimming in the winter one day in like their pond in this park. and everyone was like, this is really dangerous going into cold water, but he self-taught himself to breathe and got really good at it. You cut to now, Wim Hof is like a millionaire. He's got like 4 million YouTube subscribers. He's a best-selling author. You can train with him, and it costs like a $2,000 euros, and he's changed a lot of lives. Like, his stuff is really cool. But it kind of showed that, like, this guy chose to be a homeless guy, opted out of society, and just did this weird thing, going into cold water and breathing, and he still ended up rich from it. So I believe in your bottled dreams, my friend. You keep flipping.
I can do it for sure. You're a cold plunge guy now.
I am, yeah.
How about yourself, Philip?
No, never done it. I've been invited enough that I'm like, okay, what's going on here that I give up this vibe? That people are like, oh, want to come do the polar bear dip on New Year's morning? Like, no, absolutely not.
It's your cold heart. Everyone's like, this guy can't get any colder.
Do you have any want to do a cold plunge?
Not really. Like, it's not something I'm against and opposed to. If like,
Good, because here we are now.
Bring it out.
wheel out the ice.
It'll cure your gambling addiction.
How is it a thing you regularly do, or do you just do?
I did it I did it like once a week for about a year.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna try to do it once a month. But yeah, it's very challenging. Like, it's very difficult. It's definitely not easy. But you feel like $1,000,000. I started doing it because anxiety. Like, I had heard it was good for that, and I have phobias. I'm afraid of flying, and I'm afraid of elevators. That's my therapist texting me right now. Like,
Don't tell them about
if you cure this on the podcast.
So it cured your anxieties about flying and death, so you no longer have them now.
Nope.
Oh.
No, I just like going into cold water. Still have all those. You feel good, though. I mean, Scott and I have done it together.
That's right. We have done it together, back to back. Same
Same tub.
tub. Yeah, I mean, I like that it's refreshing, but I feel like it's overblown. I feel like all the studies are made up. I feel like
Do you have any evidence to back that up?
Zero evidence. But I feel like it's just another...
All the studies are made up? Every single scientist was like, I'm just going to write whatever I want.
Honestly, people are just trying to find new things to do all the time, right? It's you're just trying to find the guy in Amsterdam that's in the water and then build a TikTok page around him. That's the guy. That's the whole thing. Everyone's just trying to find something to do, and it's for something else, for something to buy. Because like, who really wants to wake up and hop into a cold water? It's fun to watch. I'm like, ooh, that looks bad, and it is. It's not fun. But I like the cold. Like I go swimming in the cold water. But I'm not gonna do it routinely as like a part of my health. It's not doing anything for me in terms of my health. 100%.
Yeah, but
100% is bullshit. Of the bed mass equation, which one's or bed mass? Which is your favorite?
ooh, which one is my favorite?
Yeah,
People are worried we don't have a niche.
yeah. It's math today, baby.
If you're looking for a podcast that you can zone out to,
This is ASMR of a bunch of men talking about nothing.
you know what I hate learning? I don't want to learn any more board game rules. Like, I like board games, but I'm at the point where I'm like, I'll play the ones I know. I don't want to listen to 45 minutes of a friend of mine telling me.
No, see, with this, I'm like Scott with poker, where I'm like, oh, I want to show up to a board game party and be like, oh, what's this weird European German?
So you do want to learn.
Oh, I've got a big board game collection at home.
That's like Rockland. He like loves a new game, and like, but that's where I've been at his house, and he starts talking and telling me the rules, and my eyes just glaze over.
Rockland one time texted me, and he's like, I've got a game only you would enjoy. Do you want to play it? And then it was like me and Alistair showed up at his place, and it was like a soccer board game that you literally had to use like a compass to measure angles of like where you're kicking the ball. And I'm like, this is so nerdy, and I love it.
It sounds like my nightmare.
Have you played the best board game of all, Battlestar Galactica?
I haven't. No.
That's a TV show, Scott.
No.
It's a board game. You flick it on.
Yeah, it's out of print right now.
It's in such demand.
No, I guess they just decided not to make them.
So it's the opposite. It's in no demand. So they're like,
Well, there's licensing fees, I'm sure, but yeah, you can find unopened ones on eBay for $600, and it's a very fun game. If you've seen the show, it's about you have humans and you have Cylons, and you're on the ship, and you just don't know who the Cylons are. So it's kind of like Werewolf. If you ever played Werewolf,
yeah.
But everyone has to try and complete these tasks on the ship while being attacked by these robots.
So it's board game Among Us.
Is board game Among Us? Yes, very, very much so. And you get to sabotage.
and is it old? Did it come out when the show was on?
Yeah. I think it came out after, like, it was created while the show, because it had expansion packs and everything else that came.
They could have
along
been
with
rich then, but they could have had that Among Us money. They had the great premise.
It's a board game, though. The thing about Among Us is you can play online. You play it over a place. You have to be in the same room. It takes about 3.5 hours, and you're locked in. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of in-outs, a lot of what have yous. So if you like board games, that's the one.
Among Us really hit the lottery too, because that game came out like 3 years before it popped off. But just like the pandemic, keeping everyone at home, and then every like Twitch streamer and YouTuber discovering like, oh, I can play this game with 9 other streamers, and then we get the SEO of like playing with this person and this person and this person and people watching, and like it made people's like careers with streaming. Like there were people that didn't stream before that got into it just to play Among Us, and they're still full-time streamers.
Name me one.
I can. You won't know any of them.
I know.
But yeah, that game was out for like I think 2 or 3 years before it popped off, and it was like a $5 game or free on mobile. I think $5 on Steam, and then it just.
Do people still play it though?
Yeah, not like it's not what it was in 2020. It's not like everyone in the world is playing it, but I think it's still played. They
was
have a
that
VR
game?
version that's really popular as well.
Do you guys remember that trivia game that everybody played for a second? It was like live at 4.
The one that like the dude would come on.
Yeah.
I forget what it's
Yeah,
called.
you win some money.
Same thing. There's like a month or two where that's like the biggest thing in the world.
Everybody sign on and do that. That was fun.
Did you win? Did anybody win?
No.
I
I don't think I ever played it, to be honest.
Oh, you might have liked it.
What is your favorite board game then? If you're deep in
BORED.
My favorite board game is this game called Marvel Ultimate. Ultimate is actually a series of games. I have the Marvel version. I think there's also like a James Bond version and like an Alien versus Predator version as well. But it's a deck builder game where there's in the Marvel version there's like some bad guy like Thanos, and different versions you can rotate different bad guys. And then you buy cards, and you'll be like, I want to buy an Iron Man card. I want to buy a Wolverine card. And then you draw hands, and you like battle against the things. And it's a multiplayer thing. And then like usually you're teaming up against the bad guy. So it has that vibes of like, okay, I send in Wolverine, and you send in Iron Man, and then we fight Thanos.
Is the bad guy just chance? It's like
Yeah, it's like
there's not a guy playing with you who you're like, Carl, you're Thanos.
No. It's the bad guy usually has like a number that represents their strength, and then you have to like use your cards to like kind of like playing Magic the Gathering to like send out enough attack power to like defeat the bad guy X amount of times.
You used to play Magic in LA.
I used to play Magic the Gathering, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, same reason I stopped playing poker. There's a lot of sitting. A lot
Yeah.
of sitting involved in that. A lot of numbers. For a math guy, you like it, but
And-
like tapping a lot of mana.
Probably lose more money than you do with poker with Magic. That is
Yeah.
Just
we
spending
buy
it
cards.
buying cards?
It's like I never got into it because one, it was one of those things where it's like by the time I really got into gaming and stuff, it had already been going on for so long that I was like, it's too late for me to get into this. Even though that's not true, they have new expansions all the time.
That's how I feel with a lot of TV, a lot of shows. You're like,
I'm
it's
the same
great.
way.
I don't got 8 seasons in.
I've
I start right in
never-
the middle of every season. Like they just came out with Love Is Blind. I'm like, I'm gonna start at the.
I feel like that's not what you need to see from the
That's
beginning.
a seasonal show.
But I start in the middle of the season. I start like right after they catch.
I'm a bit of a renegade. I only watch this season of Survivor.
So you start at the worst part of the show is when they're in the best part of the show is when they're in the booths.
Is it?
Oh, I love
You've
it.
missed the whole good part?
Yeah, you miss the premise of Love Being Blind. You're like, no, I want to watch when they
Let's
see
get-
each other.
Let's get to the point where they choose who they're sticking with, and then watch that fall apart.
That's so.
Oh, they eventually do get to see each other before the proposal or whatever?
Yeah, so the premise of the show is that's so funny that the premise of the show is you're in these booths, men on one side, women on the other, and you kind of just like sit down and you have these dates where you talk and there's a screen between you and you just kind of they fall in love through just conversation and stuff like that. And then
Don't appreciate the quotation marks. They really fall in love.
you can only see someone if you propose to them, and then you propose to them, they say yes, and then the next day, like they stand on opposite ends of a hallway, and the doors open, and they get to see each other, and they kiss, and then they get married in 2 weeks, and in those 2 weeks, they have to like meet their family and friends,
And they film all that.
They film all that too. Yeah, so that's the second half of every season.
Is anybody like visibly bummed ever?
Oh, all the time.
And then they're stuck with them for 2 weeks?
Yeah, all the time the doors will open. Like, and my biggest problem with the show is the vast majority of everyone on that show is conventionally attractive. And I'm like, oh no, you got to mix in like some Quasimodos.
Yeah, that'd be the whole. That's what I'm cheering for.
100%.
With great personalities and
Yeah.
people getting,
It should just be a complete mixed bag of like. Yeah, like The Voice, that was the kind of the premise of that being like they were biased towards the handsome and pretty pop stars, so it's like let's just do audio only. But even now on The Voice, I feel like half the time they've weeded it out to just have a lot of attractive people or people that they know they're going to make fun of in the earlier rounds.
100%. But yeah, there's been a few times on Love Is Blind where the doors have opened and the person's been unimpressed.
You're like, oh, you can see them mouthing, oh shit!
Doors just close back up. And walk backwards.
It's like a prank show. They just fall through the thing.
But then the wildest part about the show is the way it ends is you go all the way to the wedding day and then they choose right then, like on the altar, like do you accept this person, yes or no?
So they have 2 weeks to back out of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, but they rarely do. It's like 95% of the time people only back out at the actual wedding day. And I think a lot of that is, and there was one guy a few seasons ago that was very clear this was what he was doing. Of a lot of people that make it to the wedding day on the show get like social media famous. And then so a lot of people are in for the clout of like, oh, I'll just drag this
They're
out.
milking their moment.
A TikTok this morning actually, where a lawsuit's come out recently from the season 5, and it laid out the contract of Love Is Blind, and apparently, if you get proposed to, you have to go to the altar. Otherwise, they hold you. You owe Love Is Blind money. And so, because for me, I'm like, why wouldn't you save the person the heartache and just say to them no earlier? But if you have to play along with the whole.
You're meeting their grandmother, and you're like, I'm never going to see you again.
100%, yeah.
And then, at the altar, you have to say in front of their family that you hate this person.
In front of their family, yeah.
They'll show up.
Yeah, other than the first few episodes where the actual dates are happening, the ending is by far the best because it's this weird prisoner's dilemma thing where it's like, I want to say yes, but if they're going to say no, I'd rather say no so I don't get embarrassed.
It's like the nuclear codes.
Exactly, and it's like, oh, like, are they both going to say yes? Is like one going to say no? And,
who do they ask first?
I'm sure that the producers beforehand are like, are you going to say yes or no? And then it's like very often the person that says no goes second.
Last, right?
Yeah. So there's probably a red flag if the producers are like, you're going to go first.
You can't get divorced until the show airs. So if you
that's the rule.
Yes, yeah,
you have to live under one roof.
Well, you got to be married, and then or within 11 months, and there's a prenup. Like you can't. There's like you come into the thing with what you.
Do they win money too?
I don't think you win something priceless.
Sure.
Love.
Oh,
that's right.
Beautiful.
Wow. I mean, you painted a beautiful picture of seeing two people stand at the end while one person's like, yes. And then they're waiting as they cut to commercial break. I'm like, shit, I'm in.
I mean, honestly, you should be. It's what everybody's talking about. It's the number one hit of the last little while. It's like when Survivor came out. You know, this is the thing that people are watching.
The Megan Fox, I saw that. I made a sketch about that. Did you see the girl who said she looked like Megan Fox?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, there's always a few wackos on that show. Every season, there's one guy that seems to not understand the premise. And he's like, during the dates, trying to figure out what they look like.
Right.
Like, there's one guy that infamously a few seasons ago, he was like, oh, okay, like, they're on the dates, and he's like, oh, okay, I can bench press 160 pounds. Would I be able to bench press you? And like, stuff like that.
It's like, Carl, you can't.
Yeah, you
stop
can't
asking them.
Well, so they're just trying to game the system.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, no, he's, but also like the gall of thinking they wouldn't figure out what he's asking.
That he's asking her if she's fat.
Do you know the contestants right now?
No, I haven't watched this season yet.
Oh, okay.
You're caught up, Yemi?
No, I was just trying to make a quick bet on who is who's gonna find love. I'm in to see who could.
It's so funny betting on. Well, we need Ian's friend to give us an inside track.
It's funny because
who's gonna win.
Well, I know I need to know more cameramen. Love is Blind sounds nice, but Love is Deaf sounds offensive.
It really does.
It's the exact same. It's not that crazy to say.
Love is Deaf is like a joke you'd hear a boomer say at Thanksgiving.
Yes, it is.
It's like, how did you make it? How did you make it through 60 years of marriage? I stopped listening.
yeah, exactly. I wish Love was deaf. I'm just trying to pitch spin-off shows that haven't been done yet to get rich, you know?
Yeah, you were trying to pitch Love is Deaf, but you're like, I'm gonna...
So yeah, they can see each other, but you're not allowed to talk. So it's the opposite. It's only physical. It's Tinder. It's only physical attraction.
You're pitching dating app.
Yeah. It's actually a way more valuable idea.
I'd like to invest in this idea.
You're in?
Yeah.
You can use your winnings from your betting.
Just give him an IOU like you did in high school.
That's right.
That's our show!
This has been a Pagliacci podcast.